You find out in the most humiliating way possible, not with a dramatic confrontation, not even with a cold message, but with silence. You scroll through your feed on a lazy Saturday morning, bleary-eyed and emotionally unguarded when a photo catches your attention. It's unmistakably your mom's living room. The gold happy birthday banner hangs a little crooked above the fireplace just like it did every year. You know that cake. You ordered one just like it for her 65th. Except this time you're not there, and you weren't invited. The post isn't even from a family member. It's from a friend of a cousin, someone who had no idea they were casually blowing up your world by tagging the location and captioning it. Beautiful family day. Happy birthday, Auntie. You stare at the screen. The audio from the TV plays, but you aren't hearing anything anymore. It's like your pulse is inside your ears, too loud and too steady. You recognize faces, siblings, in-laws, nieces. You babysat when they were teething, and none of them thought to call you. Not even a polite lie. No one had the courtesy to pretend. Your first reaction is disbelief. You refresh the post thinking maybe it's an old picture. But no, your cousin's baby is there, and he's only 4 months old. The timestamp is clear, posted 3 hours ago, right in the middle of a party you didn't even know was happening. The emotion that follows isn't even anger. It's shame. A slow, sinking kind of shame that makes your hands feel too big and your breath too shallow. You sit back on the couch and try to remember if you did anything to deserve this kind of exclusion. You comb through conversations, birthday calls, text threads. Were you cold? Short-tempered? Did you forget something important? But there's nothing. No rift, no blow-up, just distance. The kind of distance that creeps in slowly, the kind no one names, until one day it has swallowed everything. You open the family group chat just to be sure, but of course it's been quiet. For you at least. The last message you sent was a meme. No one responded. It would have been easy, you think, to rage text, to call someone up and demand an answer to crash the party like a scene from a revenge movie. You could have done that. Instead, you sit there motionless with your phone resting on your thigh and realize something quieter. This was intentional. Not just forgotten. You were purposefully left out. And they didn't expect you to notice. Or worse, they knew you would notice and just didn't care. You remember the last birthday you were invited to? Your mom barely acknowledged the gift you brought. Your sister joked that you were trying too hard. Even then, something in your chest had started to close up. But this is a statement. A full sentence. They've decided who belongs, and it's not you. You wonder if your mom said anything. If she asked where you were even out of politeness. If your brother deflected. If your sister rolled her eyes. You wonder how it feels to laugh with people who quietly agree to exclude someone. If the cake tastes better when there's one less place setting. Your phone buzzes a notification from a work app. The real world hasn't stopped turning just because your family decided you were disposable. You sigh deep and slow and decide to put on real clothes. Not to do anything dramatic. Just to feel like a person again. You walk into the bathroom and stare at your reflection. There's no betrayal in the mirror. Just tired eyes and a jaw that's clenched a little too tight. You splash cold water on your face like you're trying to wash off someone else's decision. It doesn't work, of course, but the ritual matters. You go about your day mechanically, but that image sticks, the group smiling without you. The party you were erased from. Not even missed. And deep in the pit of your chest, something begins to shift. Not a plan, not a revenge arc, just a quiet, irreversible decision. They want a version of the family that doesn't include you. Fine. But they don't get to pretend you were never part of it. Not anymore. You shouldn't have opened the chat. You tell yourself that before you even scroll, but your thumb moves anyway. Curious, traitorous, hopeful, in the stupidest kind of way. You know the family has side threads. Of course they do. But this one, you thought you were still in it. At first, nothing seems out of place. A few gifts, some dry planning talk about groceries, mentions of a joint gift. Then a line catches your eye. Your sister lighthearted as ever. It's going to be so chill this year with no drama. Then your cousin replies with a laughing emoji. You mean no hurricanes LOL. They don't say your name. They don't need to. You are the hurricane. That much is clear. It keeps going. The messages are spaced out like everyone chimed in at work or while watching TV. Your brother. Let's just keep it low-key. No invitations that'll make things weird. Your aunt chimes in, amen. Some people don't know how to keep peace. You scroll and scroll, jaw-tightening shoulders slowly rising up toward your ears. They laugh. They joke. Your name is never typed, but you're everywhere ghosted between the words dancing in the white space. It's surgical. Almost impressive how they built an entire conversation around your absence without ever acknowledging your presence. And then the real kicker comes, a meme your cousin shares of a person peeking through blinds with the caption "me making sure redacted didn't get wind of the party." Your brother responds, "Don't worry, she's off in her own world these days." That's what they think of you. That you're just orbiting far enough not to notice. A distant moon they can erase from the calendar. You close the app. You sit with that particular ache for a few long minutes staring at nothing. It's not the words that sting the most, it's the comfort with which they said them. No guilt. No pause. Just casual cruelty dressed up as family banter. For a second you wonder what would happen if you responded. Just one message. Good to know what you all really think. But no. That would give them power. That would let them laugh again. Spin your reaction into more proof that you're too sensitive, too much, too everything. So instead you open your notes app and begin typing something far more dangerous, a list, not of names or grievances, but moments. You write December 12th. I paid the heating bill when the pipes burst. Then, April 3rd, stayed up all night with Grandma in the ER. Then June, flew cross-country for Mom's surgery, used all my vacation days. Not to guilt them, not even to remind yourself you were good, just to remember that you were there, even when they pretend otherwise. Your phone buzzes again, this time from your friend Max. You forgot you had plans tonight, a low-key dinner, nothing special. For a split second you consider canceling. But then you think about how quiet your apartment feels now, how loud your mind is. You go. At the restaurant, Max immediately clocks your mood. Bad day. You laugh, but it sounds dry. Just a reminder that blood doesn't guarantee kindness. He raises an eyebrow but doesn't press. That's what you like about him. He doesn't force explanations, you give them when you're ready. Over dinner, the conversation drifts to mundane things, work traffic, some stupid reality show neither of you even watch, but love to hate. And slowly your chest loosens. Just a little. You don't bring up the party. You don't need to. But as you sip your drink and listen to Max talk about a failed camping trip, your mind rewinds to that chat again. To that word, drama. That's always been your role, hasn't it? The emotional one. The truth teller. The one who couldn't let things slide when they got ugly. While everyone else swept tension under the rug, you pulled the rug up and asked why the floor was rotting. You weren't dramatic. You were honest. But in families like yours, honesty is only valuable when it makes people feel good. The rest gets called a hurricane. You go home that night exhausted but clear-eyed. You turn off your phone. Not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. If they wanted peace so badly, they can have their version of it. A house without wind. A room without a storm. But here's the secret. No one tells you. Sometimes the storm was the only thing keeping the air moving. You lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, fingers still curled from how tightly you'd held your phone earlier. They think you're not watching. Let them. Because you are. And you're not leaving quietly. You don't cry. Not even once. Not on the day of the party, not after reading those smug texts. Not after watching a stranger's video of your mother blowing out her candles to the sound of your family's laughter. You think that's something they all probably expect of you, to break down, to spiral, to do something messy they can talk about later. But no. Instead, the next morning you make coffee. You stir in too much sugar the way you used to when you were 12, and everything still felt like it could be sweetened if you just tried hard enough. You sit by the window and sip it slowly, the mug warming your hands even though the day outside is already hot. You don't check your phone. You don't open the group chat again. You just sit in that silence and let it speak. Because silence tells you more than any birthday post ever could. There's a kind of peace in seeing the truth laid bare. Painful, yes, but clean. You always suspected your place in the family was conditional. It was the way they sighed when you brought up old arguments, or how they said you remember things so differently when you mentioned past hurt. It was the way you always ended up apologizing first, even when you were the one bleeding. But now you have confirmation, not through a fight, through their absence, their party without you, their laughter without guilt. And that strangely sets you free. You pour the rest of the coffee down the drain. It's too sweet. You're not 12 anymore. By midday, you're dressed and at your desk going through emails like it's just any other Monday. Your coworkers don't know. Your manager doesn't know. You even catch yourself laughing at a meme someone posts in Slack. But underneath the professionalism, there's something stewing. Not revenge. Not yet. Just clarity. A sharp awareness of what you've been to them, helpful, generous, conveniently forgotten. You've been the patch they ripped off once the leak slowed down. So you start thinking, what happens when you stop patching? What happens when you simply step back? The idea first comes like a whisper. You almost brush it off. But then you open your budget spreadsheet. Yes, you keep one meticulously, and there it is. Row after row of expenses not yours. Uber rides for your brother's kids. A Venmo to cover your aunt's prescriptions. Donations to fundraisers your cousins promoted but couldn't meet their goal without you. And of course, Mom's name. Again and again. Repairs for her car. A last-minute plane ticket to visit her when she felt off but refused to see a doctor alone. Groceries delivered when she was too tired to shop. All done quietly. All without thanks. You close the spreadsheet and sit back, fingers laced over your stomach. They want peace. You'll give it to them. The kind of peace that comes when you're not available anymore. When your absence is no longer temporary but chosen. And still that part of you, that little voice shaped like hope, asks, what if they realize? What if someone calls? But the rest of you knows better. You start small. You block notifications from the family chat. You cancel your recurring grocery delivery for your mom's address. You unfollow the cousins who only remember your name when they need a share, a like, a donation. You don't send angry texts. You don't delete anyone. You just stop showing up. The same way they did. It feels like quitting something you were never hired to do. The next week, your sister sends a casual hey text. No mention of the party. No apology. Just a request for a recipe you made last Christmas. You read it twice, then you don't respond. A day later, she double texts, hello, need it for this weekend LOL. You put your phone face down and go water your plants instead. That night, you sleep easier than you have in months. You wake up to one of those dreamy, half-lit mornings where everything feels suspended in golden haze. You brew tea instead of coffee. Something herbal. Something that tastes like stillness. You open your window and sit beside it, letting the air roll in unfiltered. You're not angry anymore. Not actively. You're something else now, closer to resolute. Like a stone in a riverbed that doesn't move when the current does. Let them laugh, you think. Let them feel peace. They have no idea what they just gave up. You're in the elevator of your building, holding a bag of groceries in one hand and your keys in the other when it hits you, a flashback, uninvited like static, interrupting your regular programming. It's from years ago. A Sunday dinner. You had shown up early to help your mom prep the roast. You brought flowers, even though you were broke that month. You made conversation while she chopped carrots with slow, distracted movements. You were telling her about work, about a raise you didn't get, and halfway through she turned to your sister and asked, did you hear back from the spa about that appointment? You never finished your sentence. and she never noticed. In the moment you smiled, you always did. You tucked that hurt into your sleeve like a magician hiding a coin. Back in the elevator, you saw your reflection in the metal doors catching the flicker of your smirk. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was a pattern. Every story of yours interrupted, every win downplayed, every hard moment reframed as you being dramatic. That word again. You didn't speak up because you thought that was grace. You thought keeping the peace was noble. But now you see it clearly. You were trained to be quiet. And you were good at it. Too good. You carry the groceries into your apartment and set them down like you're placing new boundaries around yourself. Because that's what this really is. You're not punishing them. You're rescuing yourself. That night, you light a candle for no reason at all, just to make the room feel gentler. You open your notebook, the one you use for lists, feelings, truths you don't say aloud, and you write something simple. I'm done making myself smaller to fit their comfort. It looks like a spell, and maybe it is. You remember another moment, this one from a Christmas years ago. The tree was lit, the living room crowded. Someone brought up your job again teasingly. Still doing that tech thing your uncle had said, like your career was a side hobby. You remember how your mom didn't correct him. She just chuckled and said, "Yeah, she's always been into her little computers." Little computers. You were managing a six-figure contract at the time. And yet you nodded and laughed too, because what else could you do? But you think about that moment now, and the sick part isn't their words. It's how quickly you accepted them, how fast you shrunk yourself again and again just to keep your place at the table. Well, they've taken the table away. You think that should make you lonely. Maybe it does in little waves. But more than anything, it makes space. A kind of breathing room you didn't realize you needed. You start doing things you used to put off because someone might comment. You post more freely online. You dye a streak of color in your hair just because you feel like it. You start planning a trip solo somewhere warm. You even make a playlist titled "For the Version of Me They Never Met." You play it loud while you cook dinner, dancing barefoot in your kitchen, reclaiming your joy one skipped beat at a time. Your friend Max notices the difference. Over dinner one evening, he tilts his head and says, "You feel lighter lately. What's going on?" You shrug, sipping your drink. "I think I stopped trying to prove I deserve to be in rooms where people keep the door half shut." He blinks, then breaks into a slow grin. "That's heavy, but also kind of perfect." You nod because it is. The funny part, you haven't told anyone in the family how you feel. Not directly. No angry letters. No long voice notes. You've just stepped back. And it's driving them nuts. Your cousin DM'd you last night. "Hey, you good, haven't seen you in the chat." You didn't respond. You just let the message sit there unread. You know they're starting to feel it now. Not because you're yelling, but because you're quiet. That silence, the one they once used against you, is now the loudest thing in the room. You're not sure why you did it. Maybe it was habit. Maybe it was that last lingering thread of old loyalty. But 3 days after the party, the one they laughed through without you, you sent a gift. Not a card, not a text, a full gift. Wrapped, personalized, expensive. You selected it online, a framed print of a poem your mom once quoted to you years ago, back when things still felt soft between you. You even chose a delicate silver frame, the kind she always claimed reminded her of her grandmother's house. You had it delivered with a small note, "Hope your day was everything you wanted." You knew you weren't being kind. You were being precise. Let them unwrap it. Let them feel the weight of something thoughtful. Let them wonder what kind of person remembers a poem that someone muttered in 2006. It wasn't vengeance, it was a mirror. And sure enough, by evening, the Instagram posts shifted. Someone had uploaded a blurry photo of the gift on the table with no mention of who sent it. No tag, no thank you. But the real satisfaction came from the comments underneath. "This is gorgeous. Who got it for her? Wait, where's this from? I want one." And still no one said your name. That was the moment you realized how much energy they spent rewriting the story of you. Not just to outsiders, to themselves. Pretending you hadn't been the one who stayed with mom after her surgery. pretending you hadn't helped your brother move across the country when his car broke down, pretending you were distant, difficult, absent. But you know the truth. You were the glue, and they resented the stickiness. 2 days later, your mom calls. No text first. Just a call unannounced like old times. You stare at the screen as it rings. You debate answering. But curiosity wins. You pick up. Her voice is polite, too polite. Hi, sweetheart. You don't respond right away. The word feels sharp, unnatural. She clears her throat. I just got the gift. It's lovely. You nod even though she can't see you. Glad you liked it. There's a pause. Then the shift. But she adds, I just want to say, it wasn't necessary. You didn't have to go overboard. Overboard. You sit with that. Overboard, like generosity is somehow inappropriate. Like remembering her favorite poem is showing off. Like being thoughtful is a problem. You say nothing. You don't give her a rope to pull on. And then out of nowhere, another voice joins the call. Him. Her boyfriend. You've met him only once. He was polite, quiet. You thought nothing of him? Until now. His voice is calm, careful. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you too. For the gift. It meant a lot to her. You blink, of course. He hesitates. I hope it's okay that I said that. I know I'm new to all this. You're about to say something dismissive, something cool and controlled, when he adds softly, she pays my salary. Did they not tell you that? Silence. For a second you think you misheard him. But no. He said it. Plain as anything. You glance around your apartment like the room might have an answer. Your mom huffs, clearly caught off guard. It's not what it sounds like, she says quickly. He's here to help me out. I don't need to explain it. But you already understand. He's her caretaker. You thought he was a boyfriend. And maybe he is. But he's also employed. Contracted. Paid. And no one mentioned that to you. Not once. You realize you've been contributing to the illusion without knowing. You sent money, covered errands, took time off work. All while the truth sat quietly in the corner of their house, blending in like furniture. You end the call shortly after. No scene, no rage, just, I've gotta go. Your mom's voice is tense. I hope we can talk soon. You say we just did. Then hang up. Afterward, you sit by the window again, the place you always land when your brain's been cracked open. You replay the words. She pays my salary. Not as an insult, not as gossip. Just a fact. But facts change everything. And now your silence has a sharper edge. You're not just the ghost in their photos anymore. You're the one who knows the truth. The next morning, you don't wake up with rage. You don't feel vindicated either. You feel something quieter, like walking through a hallway you've passed through 100 times. Only now you finally notice the door that's always been there. The one slightly ajar. The one you never thought to open. You sit at your kitchen table, cradling a mug of tea, and you think about that phrase again. She pays my salary. It loops in your head not with malice, but with revelation. You'd spent years believing you had the full story. But the story you were given was curated, sanitized, and wrapped in family expectations. And now the missing pieces are starting to fall into place. You start to wonder how many other things you were never told. Not out of cruelty, but because they didn't think you needed to know. Or worse, because they knew you'd ask questions. You remember the time your mom suddenly had help around the house. You remember your sister joking. He's great with the dog, like he was just a boyfriend who happened to fix things and carry groceries. No one said caretaker, no one said contract. But then again, your role in the family had never been the one we confide in. You were the fixer, the helper, the one who quietly made sure everything got done so they could all feel like nothing needed fixing. Until now, you open your laptop, your fingers moving faster than your thoughts. You search public records. You're not sure what you're looking for exactly, proof maybe. Something to confirm what you already know. And there it is. His name listed under a licensed in-home caregiving agency, filed under part-time status, the same month your mom suddenly started skipping doctor appointments. the same month she insisted she was just tired and didn't need you checking in as much. You lean back and exhale. A long, steady breath. It wasn't about love, or not just love. It was about convenience, about keeping things looking normal from the outside. And you were a liability to that version of normal, because you ask questions, because you pay attention. You think back to that birthday call. How quick your mom was to correct the narrative. How fast she pivoted from gratitude to discomfort. Your gift too generous. Your absence too conspicuous. Your silence a threat. Because when you're quiet, they don't know what you're thinking. And for once, they're nervous. You don't text her. You don't text anyone. Instead, you start writing things down again, things they don't know you remember. Like the time you drove 2 hours to pick up your niece from a sleepover when her parents forgot. Or the time you loaned your brother money, and he never mentioned it again. Or that whole summer you checked on your grandmother every Sunday when no one else wanted to deal with her stories looping over and over. You write it all not to use against them, but to remind yourself you were there. You mattered. And they knew it. But they liked it better when you were invisible. That evening, you go for a walk around your block. It's warm, the kind of dusk that turns windows into mirrors. You catch your reflection briefly, someone older, yes, but stronger. Someone who's done shrinking. Halfway down the street, your phone buzzes again. This time, it's your aunt. Can you talk? Something weird happened with your mom, and I wanted to run it by you. You stare at the message. You picture her living room, her wine-stained couch, the old lamp you once helped rewire. You picture her talking in circles, pretending concern when it's just curiosity with makeup on. You don't reply. She wants your insight now. She wants your help solving puzzles when she helped box you out. No. You walk home slowly, letting the breeze pull the heat off your shoulders. You're not angry anymore. Not in the way they expect. You're just done. And done is powerful. Done doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be final. You don't tell anyone what you've learned. You don't message your sister with a smug, "Did you know?" You don't call your brother to drop hints about the paid caretaker. You don't send your mother another gift laced with silence. Instead, you sit with it. Because knowing something powerful doesn't mean you have to say it. Sometimes silence is the loudest weapon you own. The knowledge becomes a private garden you tend quietly, watching the blossoms of truth grow where gaslighting once lived. A week passes, then two. And then something odd happens. Your uncle reaches out. The one who barely acknowledges you except at funerals and barbecues. He sends a casual voice note, upbeat but forced. "Hey, just checking in. Haven't heard from you in a while. You okay?" The message drips with manufactured concern. You play it twice just to be sure. He's not worried. He's curious. Because here's what's happening. Your silence is creating space. And in that space, they're starting to wonder what you know. You leave the message on read. The next day, your brother texts. Not a question. Just a screenshot of a joke he knows you'd laugh at. It's bait. You don't bite. And finally, your mother sends you something. A photo of the birthday flowers you didn't send. Arranged in a vase you've never seen. From one of my students, she captions it. You feel the message behind the message. I get gifts from other people too. I'm still admired. I'm still wanted. You smile a little, not out of cruelty, just clarity. Because you've spent your whole life trying to prove you belong in rooms that were built to ignore you. And now you've stepped out. And they don't know how to fill the space you once held. You remember an old memory suddenly years ago after one of your mom's surgeries. Everyone had left, the house was quiet, and she whispered to you, "I don't know what I'd do without you." At the time, you believed her. You stayed an extra week. You cooked, cleaned, managed appointments. No one else came. They were busy. You did it all not because she asked, but because that's what love looked like to you. Then sacrifice, without acknowledgement. But now, knowing she had a professional caretaker on call, that memory shifts. She didn't need you. She just accepted you. Quietly. As long as you didn't ask for anything in return. You pull out your notebook again. This time the list is short. At the top you write, "What they don't know I remember." And underneath, I don't know what I'd do without you. You're just too intense sometimes. It's easier when you're not around. We'll invite her next time. You always make it about you. Each one feels like removing a splinter. Then you add a new line. She pays my salary. And then, finally, you were never the problem. That night you sleep with the window open. The wind rustles the curtains like it's rearranging the air. You dream of a version of yourself who never apologized for being the storm. She walks through the world exactly as she is, loud, clear, complicated. And people either hold on or get blown away. You wake up smiling. You didn't need the party. You needed the door. And now that it's open, you're never walking back inside. You don't plan to go. You tell yourself that again and again as you scroll past the group photo posted 3 days after the party. A smaller event this time, family dinner, casual outfits, mismatched chairs, kids, eating early on the couch. But everyone's there again. Everyone but you. At first it stings. Not as sharp as before, but like stepping on something you forgot you dropped. You sit with it, breathing through the same ache. But something else rises behind it. Not rage, not longing. Curiosity. What would it be like to show up not with a plate or a smile, but with awareness? What would it feel like to walk into that room knowing exactly where you stand and not needing anyone to move for you? The invitation never came, but you know where they are. It's your brother's place. You remember the address by heart even though you haven't been there in over a year. The dinner isn't for anything specific. It's just what they do. Gather without you and call it normal. But tonight you feel something stir. Not to confront, not to accuse, just to see. You dress simply, jeans, black tee, hair pulled back. You don't bring anything. No gifts, no desserts, no offerings. For the first time, you're not performing family, you're observing it. You drive slowly, windows cracked, city noise trailing behind you like a half-forgotten thought. The sky is dull, not dark, not bright. A liminal evening, just like the mood you're carrying. When you arrive, you sit in the car a moment watching the windows. Laughter leaks from the open blinds. Someone's kid is running past the doorway with a blanket cape. There's movement, warmth, the kind of domestic chaos that once made you feel like you'd finally earned your seat. Now it just looks like a scene you're choosing whether or not to enter. And then, without any fanfare, you get out and walk to the door. You don't knock. You don't ring the bell. You just open it. Because you still have the code. Inside, no one notices at first. They're mid-conversation. Someone's pouring wine. The television hums low in the background. Then a few heads turn. Your brother's wife freezes, holding a tray of crackers. Your cousin goes wide-eyed and tries to smile, unsure if this is a test. Your sister's mouth actually opens, then closes again, like her brain short-circuited. But it's your mom's boyfriend who greets you first. He smiles, not surprised, not hesitant, just kind. "Hey," he says gently, "I'm glad you came." And that alone, that line, it slices the air, because none of them were expecting warmth, least of all from him, least of all toward you. You nod. Thanks. Your mom isn't in the room yet, probably in the kitchen. There's a second of strange, prolonged silence before anyone speaks. Then your uncle jokes too loudly, "Look who finally decided to show up." And that's when it happens. The boyfriend, calm as ever, turns to your uncle and says, "Actually, she's the one covering your travel stipend this month." The room shifts. You watch it happen in real time, the confusion, the tension, the dawning realization. Your uncle chuckles like it's a joke, but you see the flicker in his eyes. You don't flinch. You don't explain. You just walk farther into the room, slowly letting the moment stretch. Your sister glances at your brother, who looks anywhere but at you, and still no one says a word of thanks. No one apologizes. But the discomfort is thick enough to chew. You sit down not at the corner, not near the exit, but in the middle. Your place. No one tells you to leave. They don't know how. And for the first time in your life, you realize, maybe they never did. Maybe all those years you were adjusting yourself, asking for entry. They were just hoping you'd keep doing it, so they never had to face who you really were. Now they're facing you, and you're not shrinking. You're just watching. You walk away before the cake is cut, before the coffee is poured, before anyone can rewrite the evening into something palatable. You don't wait for closure. You don't need a final word. Just the sound of your own footsteps on the porch, each one lighter than the last. It's strange how quiet the night feels. Not hollow, not empty, just honest. You drive without music. The hum of the engine, the occasional blink of a turn signal, those are enough. The road stretches ahead soft and open, and you don't look back. You're not angry, not grieving, just done. Done with shrinking. Done with wondering how to fit into a story that edits you out in real time. Done with decorating your silence to make it easier for others to ignore. Back home, you drop your keys gently in the bowl by the door. You light a candle not for ceremony, but to bring warmth into the room, a room that doesn't ask you to explain yourself. You sit on the edge of your bed, still wearing your jacket, still holding the moment. And then slowly, you exhale. A long, quiet breath that empties more than lungs. It empties expectation. You're not waiting for an apology. You're not hoping for change. You're holding your peace, and that is enough. You crawl beneath the covers, and the bed sighs with you. The kind of sigh that belongs only to those who've stopped asking to be invited and started choosing when to leave. And some nights, just lying still and breathing softly is enough to return home to yourself.